was stunned. I was surprised. And so, yeah, the unspoken rule dies at this point, because it just doesn't make any sense to me that people are going to church and just having a sham time. God's like interacting, through other people really close to me. And so the unspoken rule is set aside. And so now finally, once the unspoken rule dies, now it's like I can actually be open to receive a real relationship, a real interaction with God. I really had to set that down and be done with that before I could even entertain the possibility of having a relationship with God. So, as my brother-in-law is going through his RCIA process there, near the end of it, Lent starts up, here comes Lent again. And so, the thing is, I decided to go ahead and participate with Lent, okay? And so what I decided is, I said, you know what, for my first Lent, I'm going to give up all forms of caffeine. I'll just have to knock them out of my diet. That's what I'm going to do. All forms of caffeine are going to be gone. That created a big headache, an actual headache, okay? I was in pain for weeks, and I think it was like 3 weeks. And the thing is that, every day I'd get up, go through it, like, oh my gosh, that first day, Ash Wednesday, this is going to be forever, how long is this? Then they're like the third day, it's like, man, they get through the first week, it's like, I don't think I'm going to do 40 days, 40 days is forever. And then, so then at the 20th day, I found out that Lent is a lot longer from Ash Wednesday to Easter than 40 days. It's a lot. It's not 40 days. I don't know why we keep calling it 40 days, but it's more like 46 days between those two time periods, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh. So the thing is, I thought I was at the halfway point, but no, I still had 3 more days to even get to the halfway point. So, now so that's what I found it. So the thing is, Lent was hard. I did it though. This was before, I wasn't like in preparation for me being a Catholic that year. I was still not even RCA myself, right? I was just kind of beginning to participate in it. However, even so, with all that, Lent was very, very fruitful for me. So the thing is that me giving up caffeine, I started exploring other things. There's like a diet drink that was made with different kind of like Splenda or something instead of aspartame. And there's a coworker that I had, and this person had a crazy number of things that they could not have. But this diet drink that I was looking at, I was like, hey, all the things in this thing you can actually have. And so then she says, really? Well, what does it taste like? Well, it's like she doesn't know what Coke tastes like or Pepsi, because all those things had stuff in it that she couldn't drink. I said, well, the thing is with this stuff is that, well, Coke, it tastes like Coke, it tastes like a triangle, right? And Pepsi, it tastes like a circle. And Diet Right, well, it's an oval. And I thought I'd just explain to her exactly, what the taste was like. And the thing is, so she thought that was pretty funny because it just so happened, I'm sure a coincidence, right, that previous night she had seen this thing on Discovery Channel where people have synesthesia. It's very common. Everybody's got something. Most people have some sort of synesthesia where they will combine different kinds of sensations, right? So for me, shapes and tastes are very interchangeable. Right? If you see a shape, it kind of reminds you of a taste. If you have a taste, it reminds you of a shape. That's how it is for me. But I was very surprised to find out that almost everyone at work did not have this, right? You tell them that, it's the Coke. What does Coke taste like? And I don't know, it tastes like Coke. But no, like a triangle, right? I'm like, what are you talking about? And so the thing is, I found out that people are different. So this idea that I had at the beginning, where everyone's got this unspoken rule, everyone's the same, they're all doing the sham thing. Now I finally set that down, and now I go into my first Lent, and I find out that people are experiencing the world very differently. Like your experience and your experience as the things are coming in, even with something basic like taste, it's different. It is a different experience. I remember, later on in life, I found out that, like, if I listen to something that is sung or if it rhymes, I have a very hard time in comprehending that. And so, me and my wife, we went to go see Les Miserables, and one of the more recent versions of Les Miserables. and that every single word in that song, in that movie, is sung. Okay, for some reason they sung every word of it. They sung that thing. And so the thing is, I mean, it may as well have been in Chinese for me, because I did not understand one word. I'm just watching this movie. And so the thing is, Cynthia at that time had learned that, if it was sung, I was not getting it. So she would like sit there in the theater and kind of translate for me, very softly let me know what was going on. And so, so the thing is that, I begin to realize, okay, everybody's experiencing, like, I could be sitting in a theater and then someone is like right beside me and we're looking at the same exact thing, and the way it's coming in is totally different, The way that we're experiencing the world is very different. So that was a big fruit that came out of that very first Lenten experience, right? People experience the world very, very differently. Now, so near the end of that RCIA for my brother-in-law, I go to one of his RCIA classes, and it was about the Eucharist. And so they give this presentation about their Eucharist during the whole thing, and I'm listening to it, and I'm like, I'm not opposed to it, but I'm not like, totally, I'm not with them. I'm not totally with them about the Eucharist thing, but I'm not opposed to it. And the thing is that at the end of the class, I'm sitting there and I'm like, this church is actually not a bad church. The people here are trying. They're trying to do their best. There's a lot going on here that's good. And while I don't necessarily totally agree with everything I heard here today, I made this choice. I said, mentally, like, I'm going to join the Catholic Church next year. I'm going to do that. And as soon as that happened, I had this huge, overwhelming sensation. And I just kind of describe it as like the Holy Spirit was letting me know that, very happy about that. And that was a big experience for me. And, at the time, I'm like, why in the heck did you take so long to show up? I've been here for a long time, and now for the first time, I get the sense that you are actually present. But the thing is that I really had to let go of the unspoken rule and to actually be open. And so that was almost like at the very, very beginning of me just setting that thing down. God was always like just ready for that invitation for me to offer. So yeah, it was really me just at the first point kind of being open to God and receiving that. So I make the choice to join the church, and so that was the following year. So now this is 2005, so now we're talking like 14 years ago. I do join the thing. Now the thing with this particular church that I was going to, given my history, right, given all the stuff that I did, my poor wife, put through all the stuff, I wanted her really to kind of be my sponsor, to have me come into the church, just as a way to try to reconcile some of the damages that I had done. Now, of course, when I'm telling my wife, hey, I want to go back to church, I'm going to go to RCIA classes and stuff, she's a little skeptical, right? She doesn't really know that I've had these internal things going on. She's just like, well, this is, who knows what he's up to? It's kind of like what was in her mind, right? But anyway, she was going to be open to it. But the church there that I was there in Idaho is absolutely not. There's no spouses cannot be sponsors for their husband or for their others. They can't be spouses. Spouses cannot be sponsors. So I ended up having my wife's sister, attend RCIA classes with me. Now the thing is that at the Easter Vigil, the two of them decided to kind of swap places. So it was nice where she was able to stand up right there the last second and be my actual sponsor as I was confirmed and as I received my first communion. So that was a nice thing. Let's see. Now the thing, I just want you to understand, I joined the church, right? I joined the church, but the thing is, at this time, I was not like thinking, this is God started this church, and this is the normal means that He gives us grace. I did not believe that at the time. For me, it was just kind of another church, and it was good. My kids were Catholic, my wife was Catholic. I may as well kind of join them. That was kind of the nature of my joining of the church there at first. I was not totally, completely sold out that this was the church. You see what I'm saying? But I did join the church. Okay. Now, Monica attends Steubenville. So the Franciscan University there in Steubenville, Ohio, is it's on fire. So the thing is, I went with Monica to just tour the campus. And one of the things that was really odd about this place is that it was like, I don't know, we toured the campus on like a Thursday. And the tour ends with Mass. So they have daily Mass there on a Thursday, and we go in there, and the place is packed with kids. It's just like totally, completely packed with the kids from the church. It's, there's 1,000 kids, and they're just crammed in there as tight as they can get them. And then I find out, oh, this isn't our first Mass for the day. This is the third one, and all three of them are packed. They start them at 6:30, and then there's another one at 10 o'clock, and then there's a noon. So the thing is that the Steubenville place was just crazy on fire for the faith there. Now the thing is that she comes back from Steubenville, her first semester. She's different. Okay, she's been going to daily Mass. She's been learning a lot about her faith. She comes back with all these little books. She leaves them all around her house, and so she knows that I still have a ways to go. And one of these books, I pick them up one day. I got to this point where somehow I was super bored. There's nothing I could do, and there's these books were laying around. I was like, okay, I pick up it was like 120 reflections on the Eucharist or something. So I'm just kind of thumbing through this book, and I've gone back to try to figure out why this caught my attention. But there was a little comment in there by Padre Pio, and so if you don't know who Padre Pio is, he is a crazy mystic priest. And so he lived there in Italy, and he's got, in this picture here, shows the stigmata. Now that stigmata was analyzed by doctors, multiple doctors, 3 different doctors, and one of the doctors was an atheist, right? And so the atheist went through great lengths to really test the nature of this wound he had, where he put his bandages on it, put all these security things on it so that if the bandage was ever tampered with, he would know it. And so after a couple of weeks, he comes back to open up the bandage, expecting to see some healing of whatever this was, and no, it was actually still, the wound was there as if nothing had been bandaged, and then it had this weird, flowery smell to it. So the atheist kind of had no explanation, in reality, for these wounds. And so it's like, this is one of these things where this is overt, right? This is overt supernatural things going on, things that you can look at and say, wow, that's amazing. And one of the things that was really important to me at the beginning is that Padre Pio was alive at a time when I was alive. So I was born in '66 and he died in '68. And I'm thinking, it's one thing to say crazy things happened, back in the Stone Ages when everybody's as dumb as, dunderheads, right? For some reason, you think those people were dumb and we're like geniuses. But so the thing is that the fact that he was happening happening now, Padre Pio and all of these things going on, all these verifiable, observable, supernatural things were going on. It really let me like, wow, supernatural things are happening like here. They're here. They're now. There's not this distance somehow between Jesus, where the supernatural things happening in the times of Jesus and now, and these are happening now. So one of the things in this book is that there was these World War II American pilots were going over to Italy to drop some bombs, and it was going to be dropping their bombs in the area where Padre Pio was. So now they turn around and they don't drop their bombs, they land with all their bombs. And so they're like, hey, you need to kind of explain what you're doing. They're like, you know what happened? A priest showed up in our airplane as we're flying and convinced us not to drop our bombs. And it was the image of, it was Padre Pio. Padre Pio somehow mystically shows up in this thing. And you gotta imagine, if you're a military guy and it's your mission to go drop these bombs and then you come back talking like that, that's gonna be that's a big deal, right? Anyway, lots of things. Padre Pio, there's a huge number of things going on with him, but he talks a lot about Mass and what's going on with the Mass and how amazing it is. And so I tune into that. So then I start saying, you know what? I'm going to start doing the daily Mass thing. And when I started doing the daily Mass thing, my life, the graces that started just flowing into my life became very intense. It was a lot happening all at once. And there's the whole preternatural thing, the supernatural things. And a lot of times it's kind of hard to really talk about supernatural things because sometimes people can kind of go the wrong way with those things. I will give you one example where I did read some people talking about the rosary and some of the graces that come with that. Like if you pray a rosary, there are these real graces that come along with that. And I'm thinking, okay, if I get 1 unit of grace for every rosary, if I could get 4 rosaries in the same time it takes normally to do 1 rosary, I get 4 units of grace. That seems like a better deal to me than just praying the 1 rosary. So I will share with you one supernatural experience that I had, just because I think it's relatively safe to share it. I don't think people will go too far off the deep end with it. But so the first time I do this thing, right? I'm laying down, I'm in bed, and I'm about heading off to sleep. I was like, you know what? I know I get a rosary in 5 minutes. And I had the clock sitting next to me in my bed, and I'm looking at it, and I've got this rosary, and I'm just hauling right over. I'm not even pronouncing the words. I'm just like buzzing through. Hail Mary is like bump, 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 and I'm trying to make sure that every decade I can get done, within the minute. So I'm on to my 3rd decade, and I'm trying to get through there before we get to the next minute. And then suddenly, I'm like in a different place. Like I'm not in my bed anymore, and I'm in this big cavernous room, and it's got these big pillars down the middle of this this big room, and there's these torches all along each of those pillars. And then hanging in the air, kind of magically, is a disc. And it's got these rings around it. And the discs are all made of metal, and it's like some sort of silver thing. And it's just hanging in the air. And in the middle of the disc is like this, what I would call like a metallic paper. I don't know how to describe it, but it's like this metallic paper. And it had writing on the disc, right? But at the time when I show up in this thing, I'm still like, man, I gotta buzz through this rosary, right? So for a little while, I'm still praying this rosary at lightning speed, but then I'm like, wait a minute, this seems kind of important. There's like a message up in all this disc here. I should probably pay attention. So I look at the disc, and as soon as I make out the first word on the disc, it changes, right? But the disc is still round. It's still got 3 rings around it. It's still metallic, but instead of it being silver, now it's more of a gold color. And then the thing is, I look at the next message, right? It's a different message. But still, as soon as I see 1 word on there, it changes. But the word that I keep seeing is like the word you, Y-O-U, is like the 1 word I can make out. It's like a string of words, right? But as soon as you flash up there, you see 1 word. It was you, it was the word you. So it would always change. As soon as I got that 1 word, change. And so at first it took a while because I wasn't really paying attention. But then I'm like, hey, these are messages, I need to really pay attention to this. So I stopped and I focused really intently on this thing. It just kept change. And so the point where I couldn't see anything. And so I was getting but I stayed with it, for like a minute or so, and I'm just getting frustrated. It's the thing of change. And then, so then I just out of my frustration, I yell out, "Dear God, I can't understand what you're trying to say." And so then these torches, they all go out. All these torches go out, right? And then there's this echo effect, but the "dear God" part gets taken out. And all I hear is, "I can't understand what you're trying to say." And it just kept echoing like that. And then slowly I'm back in my bed, I'm still looking at the clock, and I've got this thing, and I can still hear those words echoing back in my head. Like, "I can't understand what you're trying to say." And I was just like, that is an epic smackdown if I ever heard one. So the thing is, God was making it very clear that speed praying the rosary is a bad choice. All right, that was that. Really quickly here, we got a couple of minutes. I'm going to just go through this. Monica gets married here at All Saints. That's my daughter. That's an actual photo. This is not off the internet or anything. That right there, Father Gregory from Steubenville celebrates Mass with them. It's at this wedding here at All Saints, someone comes up to me and says, "Hey, you might want to consider being a deacon." They don't even know me. I mean, they live here. And so I'm thinking, what is that all about? Because especially given my past, I'm thinking that is ridiculous. Okay, so we're going to just race through these last couple slides.
There's no hurry.
No.
Isn't it 10:30?
No,
That's all right.
that's okay.
Nobody's going to die if you don't finish at 10:30.
There's a clock nowhere in the world more than that one.
Don't speak.
Hey, Deacon, we don't have to pray the rosary.
All right, here we go. Thank you,
The
guys.
message is more important than
I love you guys. I
Yeah.
love you guys. This is good for me. Okay. So after the wedding, that was here at All Saints. I leave the wedding, and then what's happening is on a regular basis, like on a daily basis, really briefly, you get this internal urgency. You need to be a deacon, and then my response to that, like, where is that coming from? And I was like, that is crazy. You not know my history. Remember the house I'm tearing down? That is not what you use for deacons. But what happens is it gets slowly longer and longer. Okay, and eventually, let's see, it gets to this point. It's actually in Lent when I'm hearing there's a deacon that there's a person that's in deacon formation. He goes and he gives a homily, or I guess he gives a reflection at church about just his progression through the thing. At that point, it's just full on this internal urgency, which it wasn't something I was really interested in at the time. And so Cynthia and I had this game that we would play that I wanted to use. I wanted to use our little game to get me out of this. So the thing is that I would come up with crazy ideas all the time, and I would say, hey honey, what about this crazy idea? And then she would say, when we have time, we can think about it. So I did pray to the Holy Spirit right before asking this question to her, because I guess I'll just back up a little bit. And I came home from work one day, during Lent, once again. And so the thing, I come home from work and I had gotten almost nothing done because it's just this weird internal urgency. It just kept getting worse and worse and worse, right? This whole thing, like, you got to be a deacon. I kept trying to fight it. I get home one day and I just realized I almost got nothing done today. And so I thought, this is going to wreck me. This is going to ruin me. So the thing is, I had to find a way out. And I was going to ask Cynthia the question that I ask like all the time. Hey, how about this crazy idea? And she'll say, when we got time, we can think about it. That was what I was looking for from her. And so I did ask her this question. Hey, honey, what do you think about me being a deacon? And I definitely expected when we got time, we can think about it. But I was like watching her lips, because I was wanting her to say those words. But then she said, I really want that. And so that was a very shock to me, and I did not see that coming. Anyway, I think I've shared that before, but the point here is that out of obedience to the Holy Spirit, I entered formation. Okay, I went into it and I was thinking, you know what? Clearly something magic is going on, because in 25 years of marriage, Cynthia's never uttered the words, I really want that. Any idea that I have. So that is truly miraculous. So the thing is that I was thinking, okay, I'm going to go into formation, but that doesn't mean to be a deacon, right? That just means you're going into formation, right? You can go through formation and just not be a deacon, that's fine, right? So during the whole process, I always had my eye on the exit ramp. Okay, where is this the exit? Is this the exit? And so several times I really thought I actually took an exit, but I ended up being just right back on the road almost instantly in every situation, just through things that just made no sense to me. So I chose to really give myself to the process of formation, just hand myself over to the Holy Spirit. I made a lot of changes during that time period. I mean, I wouldn't even recognize myself anymore if I look back at the old Robert. But anyway, turns out, so I go through and I get ordained, and that exact time as we're going through the ordination thing, there's an email that goes out at work. It says, hey, just so you guys know, this big Bet the Farm project, for our business relied on this project. And if it didn't go, the business was dead. So as we're going through the whole ordination process, the business decides we're canceling this Bet the Farm project. And so it was very interesting because Ash Wednesday after the ordination, I get the information that, okay, we are in fact gonna close down, because there was a thought that maybe they would, after the ordination thing, maybe they keep it going, they're kind of going along. Nope, Ash Wednesday, we're done, we're closing this thing down. So then, we moved to Knoxville. So the thing is that some of my friends, I used to design computer chips, some of my friends moved to California, but the thing is, the houses there, for a tiny little house, it's millions of dollars. It's millions of dollars to buy a house. So the thing is that you're getting a job, so that you could pay for this house that you bought, so that you could have this job. It made no sense to me to move to California. I had lived in California before, and so we decided, you know what, let's just be done. We're gonna be done with that. We're gonna move to Knoxville, be with Monica and Jared and my grandkids. Now the thing is, my transition to the diocese took a long time because I was doing some remodel stuff and I was really not ready to even be here. I was like, in my crawl space and all sorts of stuff for months on end. And so, not ready to come in here, but eventually I did transition into the diocese. And the thing is that I just, it's not like you get to tell people where you're gonna go to be a deacon. You really are at the mercy of the bishop. And they were talking about places that were 30 minutes away here, 30 minutes away there. And so even though I live like, a mile from here, I was really hoping to be at All Saints, but the thing is, that was not necessarily what the bishop would want, right, or what the organization would want. But it turns out I did, in fact, get assigned to All Saints, as you guys know. Turns out that Father Doug and I are assigned to All Saints on the very same day of this year, 2019, July 1st. Now, that's also just a stock photo, by the way, that's not the actual Mass, but the thing is, remember that photo of my daughter? There was this guy that just kind of showed up at the wedding, and he concelebrated. Now, he had just been recently ordained. That was Father Doug. Father Doug shows up and just kind of celebrates this wedding that kind of started this whole process that got me going down this road of being a deacon, that eventually gets me back to being here, talking to you guys. So I find that to be kind of very interesting, very intricate, and pretty like the Holy Spirit saying, watch this. So, and that's it. Now this is, the journey continues from here, so see what God has in mind. So that's all we got.
Any questions?
It's a very inspiring story.
Yes,
Well,
it is.
thank you very much. I feel pretty humiliated sometimes sharing it, but I've done some bad things. Yeah.
So Father Doug Owen was at your daughter's wedding?
Yeah.
And then,
So this is, this guy right here is from Steubenville. It's
Right.
Father Gregory.
right?
But Father Doug was concelebrating. I don't even remember him. Like, I do not, he was just kind of hanging
That was
around.
crazy.
This is in Knoxville?
This is All Saints. The wedding was here. It was
What
like
year?
in that sanctuary. That was the first time I came to All Saints, was for this wedding. So I show up, have this wedding, that strange guy is there.
What
I
year?
start on this odyssey of becoming a deacon. I end up right back here getting assigned to All Saints at the very
With him.
same place with him on the
That
same
is
day.
crazy.
Yeah, that
Wow.
is crazy.
God is good.
Why did Father Doug come that day?
I'm not real sure.
Does he know?
I don't know if he does.
Should ask him.
We should ask him. Yeah, the thing is that he had just been ordained. He wasn't assigned anywhere. I think he was looking for something to do. I don't know.
Just show up for a wedding.
He's just like gonna step up on the altar.
The Holy Spirit. Was it
Does he know that he's in your presentation?
He does not.
He showed up beforehand, I wonder if
Yeah.
that's another
Oh,
coincidence.
that's awesome.
Yeah, I did not.
He wanted to see what you were gonna say about
You
it.
can ask him about this whole thing. He did know about Monica and Jared, and whenever he introduced me, he said, "This is Deacon Comutus," which is my daughter's last name. So I was like, no, actually my name is a little different than that. So anyway, so he does know about, he knew my daughter. So yeah, I've been like Deacon Monica's dad for for quite a while. Anyway.
So Monica and Jared were living in Knoxville at the time.
They had just moved to Knoxville because Jared got a job here in this building, as
Teacher.
yeah, as a teacher here, and so they moved here. Monica was living, she ended up staying with a person that actually was the first person that talked to me about becoming a deacon. So she lived with that person while Jared had an apartment and they were waiting to get married. So then they got married here, right at the beginning of Advent. Yeah. So that's my story.
Awesome.
Like a good
Awesome.
So far.
So far,
Cutest
so far.
kids.
We're all journeying, right? We're all journeying, and we all have interesting stories. Everybody here has an interesting story. I'm certain of it. This is my story, and yeah, and it continues, right? This is just we're just at one of the little mileposts that just went by. You know, we're gonna keep on seeing what's going on.
There's that saying about us all having a book.
Yeah,
It's true.
yeah. This is everybody has a book.
We close with prayer
Let's
then.
do that. The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
Oh my God, thank you so much for this time, the openness, the willingness, and the just the enjoyment of being here and sharing. And I hope that we can continue to glorify you through just sharing what you have done for all of us in our lives. We ask this in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Amen.